We can never take away from the great Colorado option QB Darian Hagan. But everyone knows that in mid-90s Colorado QB legend Cordell Stewart was the ultimate dual threat. Slash was the Buffs' most valuable player, leading Colorado to a 11-1 record and number 3 national ranking. He was named MVP of the '95 Fiesta Bowl, as he rushed for 143 yards and a touchdown while throwing for 205 yards and a TD in Buffs' 41-24 rout of Notre Dame. That was the first game in school history where a player threw for 200 yards and rushed for 100. While his dual threat ability was seen in college, he affectionately became the man known as Slash in the NFL. Early in his professional career, he played some wide receiver, thus was given a QB/wide receiver listing on the roster. Coach Prime was an elite two-way player in the NFL. In 1996, he became a wide receiver and cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys. Coach Prime has been gathering many dual threat athletes in Colorado lately. He loves these types of players who give opposing teams headaches because they are difficult to prepare for. Let's look at today's X Factors. Coach Charles Kelly. Not only is Coach Kelly a seasoned Power 5 coach, he is an elite recruiter. He is ranked by some as the #1 recruiting college coach in the nation. He is experienced at coordinating defense and coaching the DB position at top college teams. But his recruiting prowess, coupled with Coach Prime's abilities to recruit top-tier talent, is truly terrifying. He is our first X Factor dual threat. Next, Deion Sanders has dual threat ability and can pick up big chunks of yards with his legs, but doesn't take off and run as much as people would expect someone with his mobility to do. He is a pass-first QB with a very strong arm. He loves to pick defenses apart with his accuracy from the pocket. However, he can easily make the first tackler miss. Sanders has the ability to scramble with the best of them. He is essentially another runner teams must account for. As a cerebral signal caller, he can pick you apart but can equally make teams pay by creating plays with his feet. Our last X Factor, Dylan Edwards, is a bona fide speedster with next-level speed. At the running back position, he poses the threat of breaking a play wide open at any given moment. Although he was a dynamic running back in high school, Edwards was projected to be a slot receiver, return man for the Fighting Irish before flipping to Colorado. With the innovation of the spread offense, slot receivers have become more significant. A slot receiver can often be mixed with other types of receiving positions. A slot receiver is a receiver who lines up in the slot position between the offensive tackle and the widest receiver. This player is often fast and is in a position to catch the football or take a handball. Now let's get on to some of the dual threat players you should keep an eye out for this season. Caleb Mathis is a two-star athlete from Texas and son of Colorado DB coach and former NFL DB Kevin Mathis. He is a playmaker at wide receiver and defensive back. Caleb doesn't know yet what position he'll play, whether it be receiver or safety/cornerback, but will likely end up with his father as his position coach. Caleb is our first example of a dual threat in the form of a two-way athlete. He has the potential to hurt teams of both sides of the ball. Next, Travis Hunter. Hunter quickly became a dual threat during his 1 year at Jackson State. The 6'1", 165-pound Hunter had 2 interceptions and broke up 10 passes while playing cornerback. He also saw some time as a wide receiver, catching 18 passes for 188 yards and 4 touchdowns, 2 of them coming in the Cricket Celebration Bowl. He's a genuine threat on both sides of the ball. In his first game against FAMU, Hunter shut down his half of the field in a 59-3 victory. Against Alcorn State, he turned the game around with a 44-yard interception return for a touchdown and put the game away when he scored from the receiver position, showing off a toe drag in the corner of the end zone over 2 Alcorn defenders to score in a 24-13 victory. Morgan Pearson is one I really like. Played at Plainview in Ardmore, Oklahoma, for Coach Josh Newby. Triple threat player that saw extensive snaps at wide receiver, multiple defensive spots, and in the return game. Senior season, he had 14 touchdowns in 10 games, including 3 interception returns and 2 kickoff returns for scores. Recorded 6 total interceptions. Max Preps had him with 16 receptions for 282 yards and 5 touchdowns in 6 games, adding 6 kickoff returns for 135 yards and 2 punt returns for 16 yards. Sophomore season, he had 48 receptions for 831 yards and 10 touchdowns. Morgan currently is listed as a linebacker, but can play tight end. He is also a threat on special teams. Jimmy Horn Jr. was 2022 first-team All-AAC at kick returner after averaging 29.9 yards on 7 returns and posting an 89-yard touchdown return in the Bulls season opener versus BYU. he added 37 catches for 551 yards and 3 touchdowns receiving on the year to rank second on the team in all 3 categories. Horn posted 95 rushing yards and a touchdown on 9 carries. He had a career-best 8 receptions for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns versus ECU. Jimmy is a proven elite playmaker that can kill you at receiver and on special teams. Adam Hopkins could play in the secondary or at wide receiver for Colorado, with the staff talking about him possibly playing on both sides. He is a playmaking receiver who Coach Prime and company can see being a possible nickelback on defense. Hopkins is a sleeper. He is a 4-star receiver that coaches like as a potential two-way threat, as if he was not already a big enough problem for teams on offense. Jordan Tyson played in 9 games last season for Colorado and had 22 receptions for a team-leading 470 yards and 5 total touchdowns in the 22 season. He was named Pac-12 Freshman of the Week and Special Teams Player of the Week against Arizona State. Jordan was voted the Offensive Player of the Game against Arizona State. Tyson had 115 receiving yards and a touchdown, as well as 131 punt return yards with a touchdown, for a total of 246 yards and 2 touchdowns against Arizona State. His 115 receiving yards against Arizona State are the 3rd most by a true freshman in Colorado history. He became the first true freshman in CU history to record a touchdown catch in the opening game of the season. This guy was a dual threat as a true freshman last year and is returning. These types of players bring back a dangerous dual threat tradition that Cordell/Stewart excelled at. These types of players give opposing teams fits. You have to account for a player's playmaking and game-changing athleticism at multiple positions. This is easier said than done. Sometimes, you just have to do the best you can and hope these versatile players are not the difference makers. Regardless of how you dice it, Coach Prime and company are stacking the deck with talent. And with the level of competition in practice, I would not be surprised to see some other /type athletes emerge. A player who wants to contribute will be willing to step up in a different position. Some say Cordell Stewart could have gone higher in the NFL draft if he would have been flexible on his position coming out of